Today we'll look at some tips on how to customize Simcenter 3D. We'll begin with a macro. A macro is a way to capture a series of mouse selections and keystrokes to automate a process. So here we'll go in and start by recording a macro. It'll ask us to give it a name. And here I want to create a revolute joint in a universal connection. So now you can see the macro recording has started. So it's recording all of our button clicks and keystrokes. So here I'll go into my kinematic connection, which is where we'll find our revolute joint. And if it's already selected, it's a good idea to select it again to make sure that it will be captured in the macro. And then we'll select our first target for what we want to do, which is going to be spider and legs of COG, and also for the second target, and then also our axis type. So here, once we've specified all of those things that we would have to do every time we create a revolute joint based on the geometry we've got, we're ready to stop our recording of our macro. And then to use this macro, all we need to do is go into automation, macro, and playback, and then we can select our macro. But if that's too many clicks, we can even make that shorter. So here you can see it's left us right at the end of the macro after it's customized the first and second targets as well as our degrees of freedom. So if we want to reduce that even further, right down to a single button click as opposed to playback macro, what we can do is make a custom button, and we can make a custom ribbon. So we'll start by making a custom ribbon that we'll put our custom buttons on. So here we'll go into customize, and we'll give it our ribbon a name, and we'll also specify when that ribbon is going to be visible. And because it's only going to be used for creating joints in the kinematic connection, we'll only specify pre-post for that ribbon to be available. And you can see it's empty because it's new, and then we'll go back into customize and we'll create a new item in it. And this will be a new user command. So here I'll go ahead and drag that using mouse button 1 into my ribbon, and then we'll right click on it and we can give it a name. We'll call it our revolute joint. And the action will be to run a macro. Next we'll specify what macro we want to run. And we can also enter some custom text for the description of the macro and the button. So now if we hesitate on the revolute joint here, you can see that we have our description down there as well. All right, now lastly, the star is a little bit boring for a label or an image on the button. Let's go get that revolute joint out of our kinematic connection. And I'll do a quick screen grab to capture just that revolute joint image. And I need to save it as a bitmap because that's what Simcenter 3D wants the button image to be. The format for it needs to be a bitmap. And now we can go back into customize and our new item, and we'll right click on it, and then we'll change the icon to an icon name, and then we can browse to that bitmap. Alright, so now our custom ribbon and custom button are complete. We can go ahead and just with a single click get our customized revolute joint kinematic connection to pop right up. Alright, next we'll make a customization to our radial pop-ups. Now the view pop-up, if I stand on mouse button 3, we can get some different options for how we can display our view. And I really don't like the shaded with dim edges. I prefer static wireframe. So we can make a change to that view pop-up by customizing our user interface. So here we'll go to Customize, and shortcuts. And here you can see our view shortcut along with our other radial pop-ups. And here you can see our wireframe with dim edges. Now I'd like to replace that with static wireframe. So here you can see we have static wireframe, and if I hold down the control key and mouse button 1 drag that item, we'll be able to put it right into our view pop-up. If I don't hold down the control key, it's going to remove it from the style location, which you may not want. You may want it in both locations. So now you can see I can get my static wireframe view from the view pop-up. Next, we'll see how we can capture these customizations with roles. So here I'm going to create a new role, and we'll give it a name. We can also select a button image for it as well, and when it's available, and whether or not we want to save dialog memory with those customizations. We'll keep all of those options on. So here we can see we have saved the customizations in a role. So just to show how that works, I'll go ahead and click on the advanced role, which is one of the canned roles, and then we'll see how my static wireframe with dim edges has returned to my view pop-up. Now I'll go back to my Simcenter 3D role, and you'll see how now that's changed to my static wireframe that I captured in that role. If you like the view pop-up, you're going to love the radial pop-ups. Under shortcuts and customize, you'll notice we have 3 customizable radial pop-ups, which can be accessed by holding down Control, Shift, mouse button 1, 2, or 3. We'll go ahead and customize the one on mouse button 1 by holding down the Control key and dragging with mouse button 1 the commands that we'd like to put into our radial pop-up. So here I'll put in 3D, 2D, and 1D meshing. Now to use the radial pop-up, hold down Shift, Control, mouse button 1, and drag the mouse in the direction of the command. Then release the mouse button. It's fine if you're sloppy or if you overshoot.